Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Chris Longo, the Director of Sales and Marketing for AOPEN Pan America. I want to thank you for joining us and for giving SMB the turnkey digital signage they deserve. A big portion of why we're looking into this space is the SMB business is often widely overlooked for feature pack type solutions. And a lot of times what ends up happening is that means companies want a similar look and feel to a large scale corporate type solution because that's where all the feature sets and all those type of added benefits go. But the problem is you won't receive necessarily the same kind of support to run it unless you are actually a full size corporate. So a lot of times SMB are looking for a way to get something that's easy to use, but doesn't sacrifice feature sets and they still get the support to stand up that type of solution. So with that being said, AOPEN, we continue to search the market for full solutions with our partners, and AOPEN decided to partner with Smart Sign to Go, who brings a fully featured digital signage solution that's not going to create any heavy technical support, and more importantly, it's not going to add any overhead. So we'll jump into this here and we'll take a look at this today. And just on a quick note, the webinar is being recorded and all the materials that we have will be available following. We also have time at the end of the presentation for a Q&A session. So feel free to add any questions into the Q&A section. And now let's go ahead and kick it over to AOPEN's Manager of Technology Solutions, Miles Schofield.
Thanks, Chris. Hello, everyone. Thanks. Welcome to another AOPEN webinar. As Chris mentioned, today we're talking to Smart Sign to Go, and we have Derry Fitzsimmons here, the CEO. And today's really going to be focused on the challenges in terms of making truly turnkey IoT solutions, right? Something that I've mentioned a lot in the past is that especially for SMB and smaller customers where you're trying to go wide, there's thousands of CMS products. And it's extremely difficult to know if you're getting a good price or the services you need or the features you need, or you have the correct tech resources and things like that. So it's a very crowded market. It's not like Microsoft has a solution or one of the big guys that just has a de facto, Amazon just is crushing everyone in this space. So there's a lot of place to play. There's a lot of products. And today what we're talking about is Smart Sign to Go, which their goal was to try and create one that's just really easy to use at a good price, easy to set up, good support, that you don't need to be a tech genius or know about any of this stuff to get to work correctly. And that's what makes their product so popular, right? So once again, just talking about what we're going through, same as usual, we're going to have Derry go through, how he started the company, a little bit about their product, run you through the dashboard, show you how easy it is and why they designed it in the way that they did, just to make it extremely accessible and just make, very plain sense. And then from the AOPEN side, going to go through our entry-level players, that are used a lot in menu boards and a lot of the typical applications that Smart Sign to Go supports. And then I'm going to talk about just briefly, if you're not that familiar with digital signage from a setup procedure, I just wanted to talk about some of the challenges of trying to get a box delivered to a customer. Like if you wanted to set up menu boards yourself, the challenges with just getting that to a customer and having them plug it in and having everything work on the exact on startup is the real challenge that everyone's trying to go for true turnkey. So that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Derry right now, and he's going to give you the run through for Smart Sign to Go.
All right, thanks Miles, and thanks Chris. Super excited to be here today. We've been working with the AOPEN product line, working with their devices for a number of years, and I will say they are wonderful to work with, great team of guys, and we have a lot in common between our two companies. We kind of started into digital signage by accident. We've had many years in the commercial audio video industry here in the Northwest in Washington State, and we had a couple of customers come to us. This has been way back around 2010. Come to us with the need for digital signage. There was a retail store in town. It's actually Natural Foods Market, as well as a small chain of gyms that had some form of digital signage, or were trying to get into it and were failing miserably. And so they were asking us for some help, and we're like, what is this digital signage thing? We went in there and In the one case with the natural food store, the fellow who runs it is a very sharp individual and had acquired some product on the internet and was trying to put it together, but was just outright failing. And we jumped in there and tried to work with it and eventually agreed that it was garbage. Kind of put that project on hold while we thought about it, because we had our other customer, the fitness chain, asking us for some help as well. They had a couple screens in their facility that actually every time we went in there to work out were black. And we asked them, why are the screens black? And they're like, oh, well, we'd love to have them working, but every time we contact the company who's managing those, they're hard to reach. And any kind of change we want to make, we have to call them for it. And it's just this ridiculous, convoluted experience. So the more we dug into it, the more we found that this was a business opportunity for us. And really, so once we started looking across the market for solutions to these problems, we hit quite a wall of sort of the legacy enterprise world of digital signage as it was. And it was like, you approach these companies for a simple project, 2 or 3 screens, 20 screens, whatever, and you're presented with a really high price tag, or they're very difficult to reach, or it's extremely confusing to use. And so our whole goal, as you can kind of see just from our name, is to make smart signage ready to go with minimal effort. You can kind of see in our tagline there, easy to acquire, simple to use, and features you'll love. So we have kind of a unique approach, having come from relationships with the small business world. We know how they think, we're comfortable working with them. And I think people can feel that when they approach us, whether they find us through our Amazon store or through our website and Google search or whatever. Very personable and easy to reach, with a solution that's extremely easy to warm up to. We work with the most technically illiterate people you could imagine. So whether you're that kind of person, which no offense, or you're maybe a tech integrator who doesn't want to spend all day putting something like this together and wants to have a project with high satisfaction, we are your guys in your corner. So the big picture is we're a cloud-based solution. So that means there's nothing to be installed locally on any computer. You just basically log into the system with your browser, to include even on your smartphone, tablet, laptop, whatever it may be. And then, we have this easy onboarding process where once you get your device, it's already set up. We've already preloaded it with, the app and whatever settings it needs to get started. You call us up and we literally can get it running with sort of a white glove approach, where you don't have to know anything about tech. We can even set up Wi-Fi networks using the Google Chrome device management system. This was our slide that we were on here. I was just describing the easy onboarding approach. All right, so part of this picture with the cloud-based digital signage platform is, of course, these devices from AOPEN. So we are able to work with pretty much any kind of computer device on the playback side at the TV screen, but the Chrome devices, especially these from AOPEN, are exceptional to work with. They're super easy to use. They just sit there and run 24/7, extremely reliable. And through the Chrome device management backend with Google, we're able to set a policy for exactly what they're supposed to do, so that they're not doing something else. They just keep doing their job day to day, with no real upkeep by the store owner or whoever it may be. So they've been really a godsend for us, because I'll tell you, we've got thousands of these out in the field, and I literally manage all the tech support for them myself. And it's just because it just practically doesn't exist. You'll have a little problem here or there, and I think I can count on 2 hands in the last few years the number of devices we've had to replace because of failure. So but cloud-based system, so you log into the site and these devices are sitting at your TV screen, just pinging us periodically for what you want them to play. Very simple to use. And all this back-end stuff with this, the Chrome device management that is notoriously very difficult to use, is handled by us. For our typical customer that's got 2 or 3 screens, getting a device working with Chrome device management from scratch is a real pain in the neck. So this streamlined approach that we are offering to people really takes a lot of the headache out of things and gives you all the benefits of that enterprise system to the small business world, so they can leverage that without the headache of actually getting it all organized. This is just here to kind of give you a snapshot of some of the things that are in there, but everything from setting up Wi-Fi networks to other aspects related to policy of what version software it should be running and stuff like that. That's all handled by us. And then you log into the website, which I'll show you a little bit more here in a second. And it's just real easy sections to navigate through. And we think we've cherry picked the best features from the enterprise world of signage and kind of distilled those down into a system that's very easy to approach for, like I said, anybody who's not tech savvy or just doesn't, want to put the time into learning about digital signage in the traditional way. And we offer a free design service, a free trial. So when typically a person gets started by purchasing a device and they get it in their hands, they give us a call or fill out the form online, and we build the account for them. We can build a design that matches the branding of their organization just to help them get a start. We aren't going to be managing the screen in that sense, design-wise, over time, but it does help them sometimes to get a design that's appropriate for their organization, kind of ready to go. So when they start it up, it's already got something relevant to their business ready to use, and they can build on that. Very, very quick turnaround time to get a project up on its feet. Hopefully this will track over. I will jump to the software. So this view here is actually the one customer I mentioned in the beginning, the natural food store. I just thought I'd bring them up since I mentioned them earlier. This customer has been with us practically since the beginning for a long, long time. You can see how simple this is. It's a 3-section dashboard here. At the top, we've got the pages section, which are kind of like slides. And you make those, you drag them down into a playlist. You can kind of see here, if I open up this playlist here, you'll see a film strip. Very easy to understand. You've got a sequence of pages here, each set for a different time. And you can drag these around to rearrange the sequence. You can set some effects for them. You can set some scheduling. I'll show you that in a little more detail. A couple tabs over here. If I jump over to this tab here, this is an example at the other end of the spectrum. Hopefully this is coming through. This is Duck Donuts. So this is a good example of a somewhat larger project, larger network. This has got about 40 different locations around the country with over 100 screens managed through this dashboard. And we're looking at here 3 screens. We've got, these are in portrait orientation, by the way. You can see they're vertical. So you've got a donut menu, you've got a rotation of different marketing materials here and a slideshow with photos. And then you've got the coffee and drinks menu. These are all loaded into simple playlists here, running on the channels down below. And these are labeled just by names that they understand. 055, that's the store location in this case. If I look to the top right, there's a little menu here where we can switch to a different location. So the admin for this account can jump between locations and easily manage what any of those screens are running, and make sure that the whole network of screens throughout their organization, different franchisee locations, is on the same page. This may take a little bit to load on that screen share here. And so here, this looks very similar because there's consistency across their different locations, but here I'm on a different store. So whether it's one screen or hundreds of screens, it's very simple to manage throughout this system. There's a lot of different bells and whistles that scale as you grow, but we've done it in a way that's very easy to understand throughout that whole trajectory. So very, very simple to get into. If we jump over here to my demo dashboard, I will show you briefly how you can build a basic playlist. You start up here at the top right with the add button. That will actually give you a blank page. We also have a sample page library you can jump into here and search through all kinds of different templates, so to speak, of different purposes. We can just grab a couple pages here and add them to the dashboard. I'm just going to add 3 pages so we've got something to work with. And the first step is typically after you've added some pages, you go in and edit those pages. So I'm going to click on this blank page, choose edit. That will take us to the page designer where we can build the page. And this interface is a pretty strong departure from the traditional digital signage software in that it's not zone based. And that just means you can position anything you want, anywhere you want on the canvas. And it's exactly what you see is what you get here. So as you build it out, it's going to look the same way on the TV screen, no matter what size or resolution the TV is. And so we just start by building from the tools at the left. We can start by setting a background if we'd like. There's a settings gear at the lower left of the canvas. We can pick a color if we want, give it a little bit of color here, and then go back into the tools here. We can click on image. Up comes our image catalog. This is in my demo account here. I'll grab a logo just for kicks. And anything you've added, you can just grab a corner, resize it, drag it around, position it. And You'll see properties for the item here at the left, which include animations. You can have things flying in at different times. So this is similar to PowerPoint in this sense, but optimized for digital signage. So we can have this fade in a second after the page loads, sit there and make a heartbeat, and pop out at the end. And there's a little play button here you can use to see any of the animations you've set around the page. Just makes a otherwise static page a lot more interesting. And then of course, text. We've got a lot of different text features here, about 45 different fonts with the option to upload your own fonts. And it's all just drag and drop friendly. You can use custom colors and do a whole bunch of stuff like you'd expect to be able to do with text, which includes emoticons and tables for building menus and stuff like that. So if we get into the other features here, we've got video, which is pretty much the same story as with images. We can add a video by uploading it, or we've got stock video databases we're tied into there. I'm just going to grab this random leaf video here. And you're going to have to excuse me on my design skills. That's not my forte, but that's not who you'll get when you're having your stuff built. But you can see how easy that is. We can drag it around. We can double click it if we want to use it full screen. Very straightforward. And then if we get into the apps section, these all work the same way. If I want to click on weather, for example, click on that and just put in my location. And we would then set the other parameters for what we want it to look like. And again, resize it if we want to. So there's a lot of different features here for different purposes, whether it be a small coffee shop, school district, or internal communications use. There's all kinds of different features here to leverage to make that easier. And so when we're finished with the page, we just save it and go back. And the next step would be to add it to a playlist. So we're just simply going to drag it down into a playlist after we've added one. I'm going to click add here in the playlist section, and we can give it a name or we don't have to. And we'll just either drag the page down like this, or we could actually click on the playlist, choose edit to open it up, and drag pages right onto the film strip. And once on the film strip, you can drag pages around, rearrange the order, drag them off to remove them, and click this button here to change the timing. So as you can see, it's super easy to warm up to. This is something that anybody in any background can grasp as far as we've seen. Once you've got some pages in a playlist, then the last step in making sure they're live is to drag it to a channel. So I've labeled this channel down here, reception screen, just as an example. We just drag this page down to the channel. And the channel, for all intents and purposes, represents your TV screen. So you might have just one player device connected to the channel, or you might have hundreds, just depending on how you want to distribute the content. But basically, your device from AOPEN gets assigned to a particular channel, and that channel's got one or more playlists running in it. So you can just glance down here and see what that particular channel is running. And now that things are connected like this, as you proceed to make edits to those pages or playlist sequence, you'll see that reflected on the TV screen automatically within about a minute. It's quite straightforward. We hope you find the same way. And if you have a project that fits this kind of functionality, where you want to get in and get out with high satisfaction, or you're a small business owner and you want to have something that's enjoyable to use day to day with good support from the company, we are your people. And you can purchase the product through our website or through Amazon. And we are currently working on getting broader availability through traditional distribution in the near future. And so hopefully we'll make that quite easy for you guys in that avenue as well. I think with that, I'd like to hand it back to Miles, and we'd love to chat with any of you guys moving forward.
Thanks, Derry. So yeah, as Derry said, once we get that bundled together, you saw how nice and easy this product is to use. So it's actually an ideal, greater distribution type product, because that's what you really want. You want something that's really easy to sell, easy to set up, doesn't take a lot of time, very straightforward. And what you saw in the demo there, yeah, that's the nuts and bolts of it. And it's just really that easy, right? You just drag and drop a few things, click a few buttons, and you got a channel up and running to jam on any size screen, works with any existing screen. All you got to do is put the box behind it, and it's pretty straightforward from that standpoint. So what I wanted to go through, as usual, just on that AOPEN side, is just talk about a little bit how we approach the SMB business with our entry-level players. So entry-level players for AOPEN are not exactly entry-level players for the entire market. As I've discussed in many vlogs and webinars before, there's massive amounts of super low-end devices. But as you know, AOPEN focuses on devices specifically for digital signage that are going to cause the least amount of headaches, run the longest time, right? 5 years. Because when you have a business with menu boards, you don't want those black screens Derek was talking about, right? Those are classic. They're all over the place, and they just interrupt your business and make your business look bad. And so that's the primary selling point for AOPEN as a provider, a mini PC provider in general, because no one wants their business interrupted. No one wants their work laptop to break. No one wants their signage to go down. No one wants their pause to go down, because if your pause goes down, you can't sell anything. So let's talk about AOPEN devices. As Derry said, they work across all the devices, but they primarily focus on the AOPEN Chromebox Mini and the Chromebox Commercial 2 for the reasons that he mentioned. Chrome, super easy to set up, super secure. Most people trust it because of its prevalence in the education business. They're fanless, it's just so safe, secure, simple, all that sort of stuff. The difficult part is that Derry mentioned in terms of the Chrome ecosystem is that whole backend thing that I'm going to talk about a bit, because trying to make these turnkey solutions is challenging at this time. There's, once again, many different options. So I'll talk about the challenges there. So in terms of players from AOPEN, we mostly focus on those fanless devices, small screen players. We have the Chromebox Mini, as he mentioned, and we also have Windows and Linux devices you see in the middle right there, 1-2 screen players. That's our 3450 line. And then we have a new version of those devices coming out next year. So if you're looking at players for 1-2 screens, and we even have up to 4 screens, then we definitely have them. So AOPEN's overall device philosophy is just to have cross-platform. So we got Windows, Linux, Chrome, Android, and focus on making the highest quality, longest lasting devices. That's really what our devices are about. No crazy frills. Just you want something that works and is going to run as long as possible and cause the least amount of headaches. That's pretty much our philosophy right there. So another thing to bring up in terms of the way that we position our product is that AOPEN is part of Acer. And the reason why that's important is because, of course, supply chain and availability is a big topic this year, will continue to be a big topic next year. And since AOPEN is part of Acer, and we handle the part of the Acer business, as you can see, more commercial, industrial, medical, high temp, IoT computing, that sort of stuff. That's the sort of thing. All these fanless, maintenance-free players that are much less likely to break because they don't have a maintenance schedule, and you're not required to go up there and actually pay attention to them. They just set it as sort of a set and forget it type of thing. But having that Acer relationship helps us alleviate a lot of these parts concerns that a lot of other manufacturers are facing at this time. So just to reiterate, the main point here is that AOPEN, our product line, is just about, you pay for a quality device that's going to run longer and just perform better. So the way that we usually say, you pay a little bit more and you basically get 1/10 the failure rate. Typical failure rate for all these, lower end devices from our competitors, 10 consumer devices are 10 to 20%, while ours are sub 2. And of course, it's going to run 3 times longer. So a consumer device is going to last you, 3 years or 1.5, 2 years, and then ours is going to be 5.5. So you definitely get twice the lifespan and about 1/10 of the failure rate, or 10 times less the failure rate from our devices. So that's basically our value prop for our devices. If you're not familiar with it, it's about paying a little bit more to save money in the long run. Okay, so let's talk about the main challenge behind creating IoT turnkey solutions in terms of getting them installed and set up and configured all correctly. So you saw from Derry, once you make it in the cloud dashboard for digital signage, you get this real nice drag and drop interface. You can just put some videos in there, some templates that he already has. But the thing I wanted to say talk about is what happens, when you have an SMB customer and then you just send them the device, right? And that's going to become a bigger and bigger challenge as I see it, just as a general marketplace, right? What's going to happen in terms of people's ability to configure devices when, you have not only your signage, right, but your fridge, your 20 light bulbs are going to need to be Wi-Fi connected and cloud managed, your doorbell, your router, your speakers, your security cameras. I could see in people's homes and businesses, upwards of 50 devices that may need to be registered to your Wi-Fi, right? Because no one wants to rewire their building, either residential or commercial, right? So you're going to have much more reliance on these cloud-based setup systems. You can see with your Alexa and all this sort of stuff, you need to do all this extra registration through your cell phone and Bluetooth configuration. It's all a mess currently. So I just wanted to talk briefly about the challenges in trying to manage all these devices at the same time. So when it comes to digital signage, particularly, you have your little computer, right? And if you want the end customer to turn it on and have it work right away, you need two things to happen, right? You have to connect it to your management console, and you also have to connect it to your signage console. So the management console is is that Chrome enterprise thing that Derry was talking about. And that's what controls the OS version on the device and patches and security and make sure that it's running the Smart Sign to Go application. So that's what the management console does. Also allows you to, restart the device when you want, check on the status, et cetera, et cetera. So management console manages sort of like the base status and software of the device, where Smart Sign to Go, obviously what they do is put the content on the device, make sure it's running the right thing, et cetera, et cetera. So there's actually two things that you need to connect to. So if you're a CMS provider like Smart Sign to Go, you don't really want to have your customer buy a generic computer and just be like, okay, you got to go through these million steps and deal with this dashboard and buy a license here and go over here and do X, Y, and Z, because no one's going to want to do that. Right. So as Derry mentioned, the primary way to get around these systems is to do both the majority of these setup steps beforehand in a service that people call white glove service. So you're pre-connecting the device to this management console, and then you're making sure that the Smart Sign to Go console application is up and running as well too. So the only thing left once the device gets onto site is just that sort of identification step. So let me talk about that. So the way that every device needs to identify itself to the cloud platform, whether it's a light bulb in your smart light bulb or your Nook thermal temperature control, your Ring doorbell. Everything needs to connect to an account, right? Because that's how you view the data coming off the device and control it and things like that. So the typical ways, controls there for digital signage and almost everything are, of course, that white glove service that I talked about. And then a lot of devices do what's called a call home, and a new sort of thing that Google is pushing to make people's lives a little bit easier, what's called ZTE tokens. So let's go through those one by one. So as I mentioned, the white glove service is really, really critical because it pre-configures the device with those two primary connections done, right? As Derry mentioned, he showed you the dashboard. When you get your device from Smart Sign to Go, you just plug it in and it's already going to start that Smart Sign to Go platform. So the only thing it needs to do is the second step, to call home. But to finish off the conversation about white glove service, what exactly is usually done on a Chrome device? It's that enrollment, that connection to the management dashboard. If you have the Wi-Fi data info, you can put it in, and then it verifies that the application is on startup. Just those three things, but those things are very difficult for a customer to do on site. So solving those three issues and not having your installer or your end customer try and perform those tasks makes it a lot easier, right? So the second thing is call home. The software is on there, but if you have a 4-screen menu board and you connect one box to screen one, how does Smart Sign to Go know that that's menu board screen one? And how systems manage this is that they basically, when the application starts, if it doesn't know what data to display, it displays what's called a call home number. And then you just go in Smart Sign to Go dashboard, you put in the call home number, and then it knows that it's menu board one at, Derry showed you store 145, and then it knows exactly which channel to play. So you need some sort of identifier. And usually that happens by sort of a manual system. So the call home number just appears on the screen, and then you go type it into your console and it connects it. And usually I have to do that once. right? So that's pretty much the only step that customers have to take when they buy Smart Sign to Go. So the actual procedure is that, you buy Smart Sign to Go, shows up. If you plug it into the internet directly on a hard line, it basically starts with that call home number. However, if you want to use Wi-Fi and you haven't provided it to Derry to, have his team set up, pre-configure all that stuff, then you got to connect it to Wi-Fi and then enter the call home number. So it's really just those sort of two easy steps to sort of get up and running. But you can see how that if all that white glove service and all that prep for that customer isn't done, it's a little bit more pain in the butt having to deal with the console and moving into the correct OU and dealing with the escape phrase to enter the enrollment and blah, 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 blah. So that's sort of the way that the business has been until now. So the way that specifically Google's trying to make this registration step a little bit easier is by their new feature that they're trying to push is called the ZTE token. So generally speaking, the thing that the token's trying to solve is, when you have a box show up at a customer's site, how does it know exactly for the Chrome Enterprise? I'm not talking about Smart Sign to Go here. How does it know which application to load? So it's trying to make this white glove service piece of it, the enrollment, Wi-Fi, and boot verify. It's trying to make that a little bit more clear for customers trying to do the enrollment piece themselves. So instead of having to enroll the device will actually start, and you as a customer need to give something called a token, which is just a big number phrase. It sort of works like a call home thing. And then, so as long as Derry would put that information in to your device before sending it out, it's good to go, right? It's going to do the same thing as going through and doing the enrollment and messing around with the OU. It just creates a little bit easier white glove service that's more attainable for an end customer. So it's basically trying to remove the step of having to put the device and organize that stuff and make Chrome Enterprise a little bit easier to use. So these are all sort of strategies in terms of when you get the device to the customer, you want them to plug it into the TV and just have everything work right out of the bat. But now that every device needs to be connected to a cloud dashboard, there's always going to be these extra steps. And I'm sure you've seen it if you've bought a Ring doorbell or an Alexa or any IoT device. There's always steps where you got to connect to the account, probably so that has your payment information. You know the deal. So I think people's ability to sort of connect and manage all these devices is going to improve in terms of just a general across the board experience. Because you buy a TV these days and you need to register at least 3 accounts. Samsung, you connect, you got to connect to your Wi-Fi, it's got to receive updates, blah blah blah. So people are going to be more and more familiar with managing these types of devices and them constantly asking to be connected to cloud platforms. So yeah, I think in general the tech level will go up a little bit, but this is going to become a bigger and bigger problem once there's more and more devices present. So let's wrap things up today. How are we doing for time? A little bit early, so we can still wrap things up and get to a few questions. So main thing we talked about today is really Smart Sign to Go. Their whole goal was just they looked at the very confusing market and they just tried to create the simple, friendly, easy to use product that's really approachable, really easy startup, right? And then the second thing is, of course, is talking about that Smart Sign to Go provides that white glove service to make that integration. And by integration, I mean just the store owner plugging the box into the TV, trying to make that procedure a lot easier, right? A lot smaller headache, right? Where they just literally plug it into their internet and it starts a Smart Sign to Go. They enter that code, you're good to go, instead of having them to deal with management, OS updates, app updates, all that sort of stuff. So Smart Sign to Go provides that service to create a seamless installation and setup procedure for their clients. And of course, AOPEN, the main thing we focus on is just our media players, making them as reliable and worry-free as possible with that long run time and that low failure rate. So pretty straightforward. And as Derry mentioned, keep an eye out when we release the bundle for channel for this particular product. We'll definitely, maybe we'll have another webinar or we'll have a press release for sure. And we'll let you guys know when that's going to be available. So thanks again for joining me. And I'm going to kick it back over to Chris.
All right, thanks, Miles. And just remember, if you have any questions, feel free to submit them in the Q&A section. We'll go ahead and cover them. If we do run out of time, we'll be able to get back to your questions after. Also, if you have any questions that you don't want to ask here, you can email info@aopen.com and we'll be able to get those answers back to you, whether it's for Miles, Derry, or anybody from either side. One thing I did want to mention as well, there is a full range of solutions. Obviously, it's not just chrome or boxes that can be attached to displays. Oftentimes, when it comes to like larger displays, if you are looking for something that needs to be seen from further away and you're looking at bigger screens, then yeah, the box makes sense because it's an easy attachment and it's actually much more cost effective than looking at it from an all-in-one standpoint. But if you're kind of looking for a solution that's going on the wall or something that needs less cabling, we do have full capabilities of all-in-one type solutions that also play in the Chrome space. And those type of solutions are great for when you want to just hang it on the wall or put it kind of on a stand. It operates in the same fashion as a Chrome box would. So it's just as easy as loading the software, runs everything exactly the same. And kind of a kiosk type setting. So that's an available option as well. A lot of times we'll get some types of signage solutions or anything like that where they want to integrate or start looking at cameras or anything like that. AOPEN does offer full types of solutions that kind of fit in that space as well. Outside of Chrome, we also offer everything from Linux to Windows to Android as well. So we kind of support the whole array of what you're looking for. So it's more of a, we're depending on what you're looking to do. We really have a solution for any type. As Miles mentioned earlier, we are part of Acer. We've been around for many years and we are global based. So depending on what you're looking to do for your project, we do offer solutions for all types. You just need to let us know what you're looking to do, and we're more than happy to help engineer what's going to best fit and put the smart sign to go on top of it. And you'll be looking at a solution that's going to run for quite some time. And one thing I wanted to just reiterate that Miles mentioned is on our AOPEN products, we always mention that we build commercial grade, and really what does that mean? Well, a big portion of that is commercial grade is using the right components that you can run 24/7 and never have to shut off all year round. So our products come with up to 5-year warranties. Some of them have a 1-year warranty. You can extend up to 5. Most of them have a 3-year warranty that can be extended to 5. So with that being said as well, our entire Chrome line, as Derry mentioned earlier, has a less than 1% fail rate across the board completely. And Windows is right around there as well. So we build our products specifically for these use cases, for these types of solutions. And we just want to, the whole goal is not the hardware that's behind the display. It's about what's on the display. And you shouldn't have to truck roll to fix it. You shouldn't see screens that are down. You shouldn't have to pull out ladders to go up and unplug it and reboot it and turn it back on. That's definitely not the focus of signage. So we build all of our products with that in mind. So let's actually go ahead. We do have a couple questions here. It looks like the first one is going to be more towards you, Derry. And the question is, does your signage software integrate with social media?
Yes, that's a great question. We've got, I think, 4 or 5 different apps for social media that would allow you to integrate your account with our platform, basically. So there is a Facebook app, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram hashtags, as well as Yammer. And the intention for most of those is to, well, let's just take Facebook for an example. If you have a business page, then you add the app to a page in our system and position it the way you want, style it the way you want, attach it to your Facebook account, pick the business page you want to pull posts from, and then just let it go, and it'll automatically grab posts as you're making them to that business page. Similar functionalities with the other apps. Of course, the other platforms are slightly different one to the other. Like with Twitter, you can have it display tweets from a particular user or tweets to a user or based on a hashtag search. But yeah, quite a range of different social functions to leverage those are really a great way to have your screens updated with fresh content with no extra work on our side, just by tying those in.
All right, thank you. Let's go to another question here. This one, Miles, probably geared more towards you. Do you offer solutions for outdoor type of displays?
So outdoor, in terms of the hardware, and we're talking about outdoor computing, right? So if you have is a sort of a tricky thing, because you're not really going to find many computers that are going to be able to, you're going to be able to dip in water and send out into the rain and things like that. So when we talk about outdoor computing, there's multiple different levels. So the main way that AOPEN excels here is because we have a lot of great partners, as you probably seen in the past, where they have outdoor kiosks or sort of outdoor signage that's covered and things like that. So as long as it's covered, the reason why AOPEN devices are key here is because as long as it's covered and the temperature is within an acceptable range, AOPEN actually has specialty products which have, if you can see in the bottom right, an extended temperature. Normally, our devices go up to about 40 on our fanless, 40, 45 on our fanless devices. But if you use special RAM and special components and things like this, you can actually get it up to 60. And we have deployments with partners in Arizona in outdoor kiosks, and also Chicago. These are fanless, maintenance-free devices, right? Which is a completely different challenge than trying to meet those temperature demands with a fan and additional temperature control. So we have this device you can see in the bottom left running in outdoor kiosks in Arizona and Chicago and things like that. So we definitely have specialized options for those type of scenarios.
All right, thank you. This next one works on, I guess, both sides of the house. Just asking if you offer demos or product samples for them to try a solution.
That sounds like it's for me. So we definitely will pretty commonly send out a demo piece, I guess, running on a free trial, basically. So customers have the option, or prospects have the option, to get a free trial of the system, either just the software side or as the full solution with the device. And we make that part really easy. Typically, we'll just send it out ready to go. They plug it in, turn it on, it's running, and they can give the experience a go for 30 days.
Yeah, and AOPEN supports our partners and their RFP, RFQ sort of ventures as well, obviously, and the way that we partner is just as Darius said. We can provide the device, he can provide the software, and then we can work together to present a joint effort to win a deal.
All right, and then looks like we have a couple more questions here. One of them is, let's see, outside of the setup portion of it, do you offer any support on helping them figure out what they actually need or should use before they head down the path of making that decision? So almost engineering a solution.
Yeah, so that's another gap sort of thing, is that, if you're not a technical person and you own a store or a chain or things like that, it's not going to be very clear exactly what device you need and what sort of level of software program you need and all this sort of stuff. And Derry is there to fill in the gaps on the software side, and we're here to fill in the gaps on the hardware side. So, if you're not sure whether or not your application needs an i3 or a Celeron or a ARM-based processor, if you're trying to do 4K or 2.4K, what frame rate, what bit rate, what encoder are you using? Yeah, there's lots of tech stuff that you sort of have to wade through, and that's another benefit to working with a solution provider instead of just buying a box off the shelf and trying to do it yourself, is because we have that information and experience on both sides.
I would add to that as well, just given our unusual background in the AV world. We're actually a third generation tech business. I didn't get into that or elaborate too much, but we will commonly get our questions from our customers about how to get a project put together, whether it's a simple single screen application or something with a more complicated, like a video wall. We've got quite a wide base of knowledge in all these aspects, and so can help guide that conversation, or if nothing else, send you to someone who knows the answers.
All right, and the last question here too is, how does the camera work with digital signage solution? And one thing with the camera on here, not to create confusion, but the camera is an offering that AOPEN has. Typically, a camera is going to be used more in your personal computing or video conferencing type solutions. We don't necessarily have in this solution at the moment something completely out available to market for digital signage. Typically what happens is when somebody needs an engineered solution, when they're trying to, we've had a lot in education where teachers are using them because there's API that comes with the software for tracking when somebody's moving back and forth or being able to segment a screen. They kind of use it more outside of the application when it's monitoring what's happening at the screens. If you want to see, who's walking up, who's looking at it, if you're looking at multiple aspects of who's there. But at most points right now, it's a integration with something in particular someone's using. So if you kind of have an idea of what you're looking at and you need kind of a camera solution, there is the capability to look at engineering something that'll work on top of our hardware mixed with SmartSign software, where we can take a look at it. As of right now, we're not marketing anything for that aspect, but it doesn't mean that something can't be looked at in the future if it's something you're looking for.
Oh, sorry. Let me just add on to Chris really fast. So the camera that AOPEN offers, the primary function is that it has that full 180-degree view, and it's mostly used for AV, as Chris mentioned, to capture an entire whiteboard from learn from home or a small conference room in a business situation. But also, as Chris mentioned, is that there's a lot of camera-based technologies out there that connect digital signage players. It can record gender, dwell time, age, if they've seen the person before. However, these technologies are new and the legislation is not exactly clear about, how, can you do facial recognition and how long can you store people's face data for, especially in the United States. So yeah, there are a lot of cameras and we've had that particular camera used in those type of applications, just not a lot in the States yet. But yeah, those applications are 100% growing. Do you have a comment on cameras and digital signage, Derry?
You guys covered it pretty much, but we obviously are adding features over time that are primarily driven by customer requests. We haven't gotten a lot of requests for camera-driven solutions, but we'll be listening to see where that fits in.
Yeah, the other thing in digital signage and cameras is that, traditionally cameras in retail environments are security cameras or security IP cameras. They're designed to have an extremely low resolution and low throughput data rate, right? And this camera in particular, called the KP180, is a 4K, 60 frames per second, high-end, it's way more powerful than a typical IP cam. So you're going to be doing a lot different things with it than just sort of use it as a security cam. All of those sort of complicated stuff like running all these AI algorithms to recognize people and things like that.
All right, and that would actually be all of our questions there. So I just want to thank everyone for participating in today's webinar. And once again, we want to thank Derry from SmartSign to Go for joining us today. And as a reminder, all the content, the recording, materials, and everything will be sent out to all the attendees. Please feel free to share it any way that you need or see fit. If you have other people that need to see the type of solution, feel free to reach out to us as well. And we're more than happy to jump in, as Derry mentioned, to do any demos or discuss project, or Miles is happy to jump in and help engineer. And when it comes to digital signage, he has a lot to offer there. So feel free to put him to work when it comes to that. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody again and let everybody get on with their time and have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, everybody.